Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of Dark Powerrr, where we talk about everything that happens on AEW Dark, Dark Elevation, and of course, NWA Powerrr. Before we get any further, remember to hit that like button, comment, share, subscribe if you haven't already. We appreciate everything that you guys do for us that allows us to do what we do for you. That's basically what True Heel Heat is. We have a little bit of heelish flair and a little bit of spice on our takes. Try to make sure that we're always talking about things the way we think they should be, and to give people the best version of wrestling that they want, that they're looking for. And we do that for you guys. It's just a bunch of friends talking about wrestling, and let's get straight into it, guys. So there wasn't actually that much on Dark and Dark Elevation that caught my eye. There was a couple matches on Dark. It was weird because Dark Elevation actually had shorter matches than Dark in some instances, which is very awkward because Dark Elevation is supposed to be the show that is putting over your younger talent, and Dark is more squash matches, if anything. So the fact that there were short matches on Dark Elevation kind of stuck out like a sore thumb. But let's talk about Dark itself first. What I liked about Dark was the Ricky Starks promo ahead of his match against Adam Page. We've seen a lot of tag matches to help get people over further, or just pad wins, or just stack wins is I guess the better way to put it. Here, Starks is still getting wins with Team Taz, as part of Team Taz, continuing that storyline that's happening with Christian, but at the same time he has a singles match against Adam, so the way he builds for that match is through a promo, and it's actually a really good promo. Ricky Starks is somebody who has great charisma, great on the mic, and is very believable in what he says and how he comes across. So check out that promo if you get a chance. Another thing that stood out to me was the acclaimed Max Caster taking on Allen 5 Angels. This was a pretty good match. I like this one. It was good for what it was supposed to be, which is yet another way of getting over how heelish that Max Caster is and the level of cheating. And I think that it was a little... They could have planned out that ending a little bit better. So basically what happens is Caster tries to use the boombox as his classic acclaimed strategy. And Angel stops him, and he's holding onto the boombox. Now, we've seen this happen before, and we know that what Caster does is he goes and gets the rope chain that he wears, that he leaves in his corner of the ring, and he hits somebody with that. When he goes to get the rope chain, and he goes to hit Angels, Angels is able to get a hook kick on him, and knocks him down. And when Angels goes for the cover, because of where the ref is and ref's out of position, Caster's able to punch Angels with the chain. But he's unable to discard the chain or get rid of it, so he basically just kind of cradles it under his arm and like kind of does this weird shimmy move so that he can get the pin onto Angels. And it's just kind of an awkward situation. I think maybe they could have tried to plan it a little bit better. I don't know if they did, maybe, and then in execution there was a little bit of a problem. These things happen, but this is a taped program. So they could have redone it if they needed to. The other thing that stood out to me from Dark was Fuego del Sol versus Top Flight's Dante Martin. This was a really good match. This was a nice showing. I will say that since Fuego has had the match with QT Marshall, I feel as though there's been a slow step up, a gradual increase in the quality of his matches. And this is another great match, especially because he's in there with Dante Martin, who he's able to play off of very well because of Dante Martin's own skill set. It works well with Fuego. It's two high flyers, but Dante Martin is just on another level. That man's athleticism, he and his brother, incredible. Simply incredible to watch. And this was a really good match. Check it out if you get a chance. Turning towards Dark Elevation, and I know I tend to do these shows out of turn because Dark Elevation is on Monday, Dark is on Tuesday, but going to Dark Elevation, going to Dark Elevation, one of the things I liked here was just the kind of, while the matches were short, there were some really good character moments, and I think that's kind of what sticks out to me from Dark Elevation. So on Dark Elevation, we had Britt Baker versus Tesha Price, great character work. Britt's always knows who she is in the ring. It reminds me a lot of where Cody was back in 2019 when Dynamite was first starting, and he was on TV a lot and he was cutting these really great promos, really knew who his character was, particularly during the build to Full Gear against Jericho. Another great character moment is Abaddon versus Sky Blue. Abaddon is also somebody who knows who she is in the ring. We did have a good match in Private Party taking on Dark Order. Dark Order taking a loss here, but it kind of feels okay because we know that this version of Dark Order, which this pairing is Reynolds and Colt Cabana, is not the real pairing for Reynolds. It's supposed to be Reynolds and John Silver, but Silver's recovering from his injuries, so we have Colt Cabana in there. So you can kind of chalk up some of it to communication issues, which perfectly fine, but that's what heels are supposed to do. Heels are supposed to take advantage of flaws, of weaknesses, and exploit them. And that's what Private Party does very well here, getting a good win for them. And we'll talk about Omega being in the main event. The match was alright to me. I guess I struggle to see why Nakazawa needs to be involved. I think that's really the key thing. There are ways to do this overall presentation of Kenny without Nakazawa, and it just adds a level of comedy and cheesiness to it that really isn't needed. And I don't know if it does much to get anybody over or does more to detract from Kenny himself. And I get it, Nakazawa's your friend, but I don't know, something about the presentation of it just doesn't feel right, particularly when you've got Gallows and Anderson there who are legitimate heavies. And I understand it, you can't have Gallows and Anderson always on Dark or Dark Elevation. Obviously, for starters, they're Impact talent to begin with. But having somebody besides Nakazawa, I think would probably be a little bit better. And maybe that's the point of Konosuke Takeshita. But at the same time, Takeshita isn't as well known with the audience, and he's still coming into his own as a wrestler himself. I will say that the Big Show showcase, which I just, as I said it, got the pun of calling it the showcase, but that was another well done segment. The Big Show is talking with the Acclaimed. The Acclaimed are doing their regular run-of-the-mill heel promo, talk about ourselves, really talk about ourselves ad nauseum. It really works for them. It's a good gimmick. It's a good character work for them. And that's something, I guess, that Dark Elevation did very well. And finally, the match that I think, for me, worked the best, when we're talking about match quality itself from the episode itself, besides Private Party and Dark Order, is Austin Gunn taking on Aaron Solo. These are two very young up-and-comers, but they work really well together. And I think that one of the things that stands out is just that we are seeing the storyline of the Nightmare Family versus the Factory play out a lot when it comes to Dark and Dark Elevation, and that's something that's really, really cool to see. So we see on Dark Elevation Austin Gunn take on Solo. He's going to get the win. We're later going to see a promo from Austin Gunn talking about what family means to him. He is going to kind of step away from the camera. Billy Gunn's going to try to take over the rest of the promo for him. QT Marshall's going to come. They're going to have a moment. QT Marshall is going to punch Billy Gunn. And the very next night on Dark, we get a Billy Gunn singles match to prep Billy for a match against QT Marshall, which I'm assuming QT Marshall's going to win. At least he should win the match. It's strong work. This is a great example of what Tony was talking about when saying we're going to have storylines that play out across Dark Elevation, and Dynamite. Because now we're going to get a Dynamite match that really started because of something that happened on Dark Elevation. And, well, I mean, technically speaking, it started on Dynamite when they turned on the Nightmare Family. But this specific match, this specific part of the storyline turns because of something that happens on Dark Elevation that we then see play out further on Dark when Billy Gunn gets that singles win, and now we're going to see the payoff or some kind of maybe temporary resolution with Dynamite when Billy Gunn takes on QT Marshall, and hopefully he does lose to QT Marshall, because Marshall needs to get credible wins under his belt if he's going to be the leader of a faction. So let's turn to NWA Powerrr. NWA Powerrr had an interesting episode. There were definitely some misses. That's the easiest way to put it. So we start off with a Trevor Murdoch promo, and he's talking about how he wants another shot at Chris Adonis. Okay, that makes sense. You lost your title, you were embarrassed, you were attacked. Cool, makes sense. Aldis is the one that comes out. They have a back and forth. It seems as though, in a way, this feud is less about Murdoch and Adonis and more about Murdoch and Aldis. And it makes me feel as though Murdoch might actually be the next contender for Aldis, as opposed to being somebody who takes the title back from Adonis or is a national championship feud. That's kind of interesting to me, because Murdoch, they're kind of building Murdoch as this lovable, relatable babyface, and it doesn't come across super well, at least to me, because Murdoch is magnitudes larger than Aldis or Adonis. Especially when they give him such a hoss fight persona, I need to see why this babyface is struggling against Aldis. Granted, yes, obviously it's supposed to be that Aldis's mind is what's better, because we see Murdoch try to trap Nick, and Nick repeat, I'm the dealer. I'm not going to get put into this corner. I put people into this corner. I'm the puppet master. So we know that it's a mental thing, that we're being told that Aldis is superior mentally to Trevor Murdoch, and that's why he's going to be able to beat him. But we then need to see, if that's the case, we need to see the babyface be able to one-up the heel. And that's not going to play out, at least for this episode. It may play out down the road, but because of that, it makes me think that Murdoch is really the contender for Aldis and not really for Adonis, which then leaves Adonis open to, well, we'll see what happens. But after this, we have a Slice Boogie promo. Okay, cool. And now he's basically talking shit to Jack Stane and saying he'll fight Jack Stane. And I mean, we saw Jack Stane get defeated by a ring apron last week, so I don't know what the hell is going on there. Why would Slice Boogie even bother? A ring apron can beat Jack Stane. You should be able to beat Jack Stane with one hand tied behind your back. And also, I feel like Slice Boogie is supposed to be the face, but anyway. Now, we have an interesting moment here where Saul Renaro is supposed to take on the tag champs in a non-title match with a partner of his choosing that is going to be a former NWA, a former champion in the NWA. Doesn't necessarily mean an NWA champion, world's champion, just a former champion in the NWA. When he comes out for his match, nobody comes out with him. And then our tag champs get introduced. The match starts, etc., etc. Saul's getting his ass handed to him. Danny Dimes comes out for no reason to help Saul Renaro, and Kratos just loses it on Danny Dimes, and he's throwing him into the announce table where we have Joe Galli, Tim Storm, and Velvet Sky. Now, after this, Kratos gets back into the ring and continues to rough up Saul Renaro. The match has started with Aaron Stevens and Saul Renaro, but Stevens eventually tags out to Kratos. Kratos will then dominate this match, doing the aforementioned attacks on Danny Dimes, etc., etc. Because of the fact that he is not letting up, Tim Storm leaves the desk and gets up on the apron. Aaron Stevens gets in between Tim Storm and Kratos and is trying to calm his partner down and say, we don't need to be this vicious. We have him beat. Like, just pin him and let's get on with our lives. And Kratos, this does not sit well with Kratos. The two get into a little bit of a shoving match, and Kratos goes to punch Stevens. Stevens gets out of the way, and when Kratos is going to connect with Tim Storm blocks it, punches him, which should have caused a disqualification. I don't know why. It's a clear view of the ref, but he punches him, he decks him, and when Kratos is stumbling backwards, Saul Renaro is able to hit him with the deadliest move in all of professional wrestling, the roll-up. and pins him 1-2-3 in the middle of the ring, and they're saying that Saul Renaro's partner is now Tim Storm. That's how they announced the ending of the match. So, a couple things. One, I think that the beatdown on Saul Renaro went a little too long. The presence of Danny Dimes was absolutely pointless. There was really no need for that. Instead of throwing Dimes into the announce table, Kratos could have thrown Renaro into the announce table, and then almost the sympathy from Tim Storm would have made a little bit more sense. You could have completely cut out that Dimes segment, done that with Renaro, and then you could have made the match a lot shorter. But anyway, I don't know how I feel yet about the pairing of Saul Renaro and Tim Storm. That seems a little weird to me. It seems they're, I guess, obviously, you know, the strange bedfellows, but Saul Renaro being that happy-go-lucky guy and Tim Storm being the consummate veteran that he is, maybe that's really the pairing. And it's going to be Tim Storm trying to make, somehow I'll make a man out of you, you know, from Mulan. That's really going to be the kind of story that we're going to get here. And I'm for it, because Saul Renaro kind of needs a little bit more of an edge. There is a place for a goofy character on NWA because there are many serious characters, but at the same time, somebody like Saul Renaro just doesn't feel right as a goofy character because it's too cheesy, I think, is the problem. It comes across as too cheesy. With someone like Toru Yano or R-Truth, they know when to do it and when not to do it. And you'll see Yano shift into a serious mode. You'll see R-Truth shift into a serious mode. With Saul Renaro, it's just like he's a wet noodle in the ring who gets his ass handed to him, but it's okay because he's a plucky-go-lucky guy. Why would NWA have him on contract? It doesn't make sense. Yano at least gets wins. R-Truth is an 8,000-time 24/7 champion. So that part of it feels a little weird, but maybe this is the start of something bigger for Saul Renaro. I'm willing to see how it's going to go out. Okay, now we turn to something that's super awkward and super weird, because this is now the second time in a row that NWA has done this. We have a promo between Pope and Tyrus. Okay. Elijah Pope does really well in this. Tyrus actually does really well in this, the two promos. The problem, when they're going back and forth, the problem is that last week, or whenever it was, or maybe the week before, Tyrus told Pope that Austin Idol spoke for him, so that was it, and you gotta listen to Austin Idol. So if that's the case, why are you now handling all this promo? Why are you handling this back and forth? It should be Austin Idol. Now, granted, I don't want to hear Austin Idol, but if we're following continuity, you said you don't need to speak because Austin Idol's going to handle everything for you, and you're just here to beat the shit out of people. So let him talk for you. Like, that would be as if Heyman comes out with Brock, and Brock hands the mic to Heyman, and Heyman's like, well, I'm going to be the one doing talking for Brock. And then next week, Brock just starts cutting promos himself. The point of having Heyman is Heyman's the heater. Heyman's the guy who's supposed to be getting the heat for you. That's the point of Austin Idol. We hate Austin Idol. We don't like him because he's annoying. Let him get the heat for you. You just stand there. But as promos went, it was very, very good. It just didn't make sense, and it clashed. The other thing is that Pope is telling Tyrus that he needs to earn a title shot. He's not just going to get a title shot. He has to earn a title shot. So Tyrus is like, that's bullshit, but fine. He goes to leave, and then Idol, he goes to leave, and then starts taking off his rope chain. He takes off his shirt. He's got the singlet underneath. He takes off his hat. He hands it all to Austin Idol. And he goes and he gets in the ring. Matt Cross and Marshe Rockett are already in the ring for a match. Not against each other. We are told that this is a triple threat match, and the winner is going to face Pope. Okay. Here's a couple problems with this. If Tyrus was going to be in the match anyway, what the fuck was the point of that whole promo? The promo was really good. What was the point of the entire promo? There was none, because Tyrus knew he had to earn the shot anyway. And the other thing is this, if you're such a monster and you're such a badass and this, that, and the other thing, beating the two of them in a triple threat match should not be a problem. You shouldn't even bother with saying, I'm going to get a title shot just because. Just beat the crap out of these two guys, take the title shot, and carry on. However, if Tyrus was not in the match, and that's why he was trying to force his way to get a title shot, why was he suddenly able to just get into the ring and have that match turned into a triple threat and have that match magically become a triple threat for no reason? You would think that Matt Cross and Marche Rocket would have some issue with this. You would think they would complain to the ref. You would think they would say, we're not having this match until we figure out what the hell's going on. How is this guy able to change matches just by walking 5 feet from where he was standing to now getting in the ring? Something about that doesn't work. Either way, the match goes back and forth. Tyrus ends up on the outside. Matt Cross hits, I think it's a 450. He hits his top rope splash onto Marsh Rocket, and Tyrus knocks him off of Rocket and steals the pin. The only other thing that's kind of cool about this, or even the only thing that I guess not cool, but like kind of remotely saves this in any way, shape, or form, even though it really doesn't, is that Joe Galli tried to say that, the whole 33% chance of winning, which is the dumb WWE math, and Velvet made fun of it by saying, don't bring Steiner math in here. That's literally probably the highlight of the match, outside of when Matt Cross hits his top rope move. Anyway, we have an Adonis and Latimer promo, and Adonis is talking about how Trevor Murdoch needs to watch his back, or et cetera, because during the earlier promo with Murdoch and Aldis, Murdoch was trying to finagle a way to get around what Aldis was saying. Aldis said that if you show up tonight during the main event, which is going to be me versus some guy, then you cannot get a title shot against me. Which again is weird, because Murdoch was saying that he wants a title shot against Adonis, not Aldis. I guess the names are similar. There's an A, a D, an I, and an S. Okay. But Murdoch tries to say, if I don't show up, you have to give me a title shot. And Aldis is like, no, I'll consider it. I'll consider giving you a title shot if you don't show up. Okay. Either way, all of that's weird. But Adonis and Latimer during their promo are saying that Murdoch needs to watch out, because if he does show up, they're going to be there and they're going to, fight him and ward him off, whatever the case may be. Okay. The other thing is that they're saying that they are interested in getting the tag titles, which makes sense because Latimer is a tag competitor in the NWA. Adonis is basically filling in for Royce Isaacs, the now missing Royce Isaacs, who is appearing sometimes on AEW Dark and Dark Elevation. And Latimer needs a title to be able to prove himself to stay in strictly business. It was all about consistency. And right now, Latimer is being consistently bad. So I think what the idea might be is that Saul and Tim Storm might take the tag titles from Kratos and Stevens, because Kratos and Stevens can't get along, and then Latimer and Adonis are going to challenge for those titles, and they're going to fail. And that could be something that starts this issue within Strictly Business. We have Camille taking on Genocide. This is match is alright. Nothing too crazy. It kind of struck me as a little bit of a dark elevation match. But at the same time, I want to say that Camille seems to have taken a step back or two. Her spear was devastating. Her spear used to look devastating. Now when she's hitting the spear, it's almost as though she's too gun shy. She's hitting the person, but it's almost as though she just does a hug or a bear hug, and she's still on her feet. I don't understand. I don't get how you're hitting somebody with a spear and you're still on your feet. it wasn't a height situation because she's as roughly the same height as Genocide. I think she's a little bit taller. But when you're hitting a spear, if you're hitting a high impact move like that, you can't be on your feet anymore. You got to be horizontal. You got to be slightly on an incline hitting that person and folding them in half. That's what makes Goldberg's spear look pretty. I mean, also Goldberg hits hard like a motherfucker, but Roman's spear looks good in comparison to this. Hell, even Ricky Starks is, and he's hitting it, and he's much smaller as a competitor than Camille is in comparison to other women. So I don't know what's going on there. They need to, and the other thing is that she hits this multiple times. Because the first time she hits it, Genocide kicks out. She's going to hit it again, put Genocide away. Melina comes out, takes her shoes off, gets into the ring to check on Genocide, turns around, eats a spear herself. So now she's hit 3 spears, and all 3 of them did not look good. Finally, Thunder Rosa comes out, and there's a little bit of jaw-jacking back and forth. Maybe we are seeing a turn on Thunder Rosa in the sense of she's turning the corner on her relationship with Melina. Maybe she's now willing to talk to Melina again or work with her. Or maybe she just doesn't like bullies, which is a completely fair take. Finally, we have our main event, which is supposed to be Nick Aldis versus some guy, a.k.a. Jordan Clearwater. The match starts and then immediately basically becomes a no contest. What happens is that Trevor Murdoch shows up like he basically promised he would, because Nick Aldis would not promise him that if he stayed away he'd get a title shot. And then the other 2 members of Strictly Business, well no, Thomas Latimer and Chris Adonis, because Chris Adonis is not supposed to actually be part of Strictly Business yet, show up and they get into a brawl at ringside and the ref throws the match out for no reason. If Murdoch is brawling with Clearwater, if Murdoch is brawling with Latimer and Adonis, what the hell does that have to do with Aldis and Clearwater in the ring? They can still have their match. This doesn't need to be a no contest. It only becomes a no contest if the fighting spills into the ring or one of those 3 guys gets involved in the match. So basically they wanted to give us a Nick Aldis match without giving us a Nick Aldis match and kind of tease us about Nick Aldis having a match. Cool. Job well done. It just felt a little weird. It felt a little rushed. I would have preferred a DQ. I would have preferred something going on where Murdoch is brawling back and forth with Latimer and Adonis. Maybe Nick reaches over the ropes to try to get a hit in on Murdoch. Murdoch punches back, disqualification. I mean, granted, we already saw somebody get hit in a match by somebody not in the match, an announcer for crying out loud, or a commentator for crying out loud, and that not cause a disqualification. So who knows what would have actually happened. Maybe this was the best way to convey what the point was. But either way, it created just a general sense of lacking. That's really all I got for that. So guys, thank you for tuning in to Dark Powerrr yet again. Appreciate it every single time. Thank you. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. I'll catch you guys on Fusion of Honor with my co-host, Ness, 3-time baby-making champion. And take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And until next time, guys, I'll catch you.